to see you guys. Yeah, it is, obviously. Live stream 122 for, and we're doing June 15th to June 21st, 1917. Hope you guys are all doing well. Let me go through here quick. Whoa, really neat to see that you're the first one here, Gamers with Coffee, Ashley. Totally cool. Hope you're doing well, Ashley. William Arends, yep, I got all your material just on the last bit. So, yeah, for sure. There's no way in hell we're going to have to worry about running out of material as per usual. Charles Latora, morning, everyone. Barely awake in San Diego. I'll just put on the little thing. Actually, no, I'm going to leave the quote back on. Just going to say hello to you, and then let's get to Tolemykus's quote for us. These dangers lie not only in military setbacks, but in the political disunion and discontent at home. Every sign of exhaustion and longing for peace on our part can only prolong the war. And it's from Hindenburg's June 19th, 1917 to Kaiser Wilhelm II. Thank you, Tolemykus. Now let's get back to this quickly for a bit here. Like, I don't know what you guys think. What do you guys think this means? I'm assuming this is what it means when he says every sign of exhaustion and longing for peace on our part can only prolong the war. I'm assuming he means that they're, I have to stop looking at the camera. I'm going to try to look at the screen for the glare. I think he's assuming that that's showing a sign of weakness to the Allies. I'm assuming that's what he means by it. And if you guys want to chime into that, that'd be great. And great to see you as well, Meandering Mike. Hope you're doing well. I'll leave the quote on for a little bit longer, and then I'll put in the, I'm going to add this to the, I got to remove this and add to the stage. All right, and here we go. Lots of good material this week, and a couple of beautiful bits for community contributions as far as I'm concerned. One of them was from Brian R. Smith, seeing the video that I did of making some components for the SPI's game, World War I, 1914, 1918. He sent me a link. Anyways, we'll get to it in a bit. Like I said, welcome everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Please let me know what you're up to. And now we're going to get into the live stream fact check. I didn't really check any facts, to be honest with you, so I could have whatever. But here's some interesting tidbits. Most of them are from the headlines that I saw in the week. I kind of try to put these in because I kind of want it's for people that don't stick around for the after hours, but I find these kind of things really rather interesting. I'm going to try to not use my glasses. Everything's kind of like a little buggy, but we'll see how it goes. I know you're not supposed to strain my eyes. And then yet again with the ergonomic things, if you saw how I'm doing my stuff, I'm an ergonomic mess. Anyways, here we go. So this is just an interesting little term I saw it mentioned this week with the Zeppelins, that they called them the big gas bags. I just found that rather humorous, that the Italians are conducting two offensives at the same time. I find that rather interesting. If you pair it, bring this all together with, let's see, okay. So right now you're saying that the Italians have got two fronts going on at the same time. They've landed troops. They've landed troops in Greece, like up in northern Epirus there or whatever, and they're supposedly got troops now in Port Said. They're helping out the British down in Mesopotamia. Palestine. That's mind-boggling. I just find that amazing. And great to see you as well, Greg. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to remove Gamers with Coffee. Just straight up, but I know that's great. Anyways, the Portuguese troops, we've been seeing this as well. That Portuguese troops were mentioned again and fighting on the Western Front, and it seems like they're doing some pretty interesting stuff. Italian troops have landed in, like I said, Port Said. I don't know what these people are. Maybe you guys will know what these things are. Bersaglieri and they're carabiners. There's some kind of two famous corps or something by the Italians. A Japanese warship sank a U-boat in the Mediterranean this week. Poland is supposedly in political turmoil. And I noticed, William Arends, I didn't read it, but I did format or did whatever editing I could, proofreading kind of stuff. Thanks, Tolemykus. I had no idea what that's neat to cool. Oh, I wonder if they had those special armor things, those trench raiders. I can't remember what they were called, those special, they looked really scary, almost like gladiators or something like that. But anyways, that I noticed that you had mentioned. Oh, great to see you, Zoe Dufour. Hope you're doing well, and I hope your recording for your assignment goes well. Everybody, send her good vibes for it to go well. She's doing some recording for her nursing nursing class, Anyways, I noticed, William Arends, that you had mentioned that you had found some material on Poland and what's been going on there. So I was like, thank you so much. I didn't read it, but I was like, great. I don't even know if we're going to get to your stuff, but we'll see how we go. Why is Neville still being mentioned? Sounded like he's in charge of the French troops. I noticed that in one of the articles this week. I'm thinking, wait a minute, Neville got yanked. There's another thing we're going to talk about. I think I just mentioned the next one here. Good. So remember, Neville got yanked after his offensive fell apart, and then they put Petain back in thing, the kind of whatever. But I just find this interesting. He keeps being mentioned every 5 seconds. Oh, Brian R. Smith, great to see you. I'm going to pop your thing as well. Oh, no, I love that a bit there with the physically and especially mentally. Yep, and spiritually. How we pop that in all three. Anyways, and we're going to be talking about you, Brian R. Smith, for flipping sure in the community things. So anyways, I just find that interesting that Neville is still being mentioned in the Allied papers, as well as I found out, or another piece of information this week when I was watching a part of Vinny Nidel's show, that he does mention that the French mutinies have been going on for a few weeks. I thought I had also started seeing a few rumblings of that in another paper. I can't remember what, but certainly not the Allied papers. And there's not a peep, obviously, for some obvious reasons. But I was like, But I know that I'm going to hope to goodness that William Arends is going to start finding some material in it. I'm sure he will. There was a submarine department in France, supposedly appointed or set up by President Poincaré, I do believe. If anybody knows anything about that, I would certainly love to hear about this. Supposedly Admiral Jellicoe, I think this is also from the Indy Nidell thing, thought that Britain would have to negotiate for peace within a year if they did not manage to take the Belgian coast. And that's why he was kind of like a thumbs up with Douglas Haig's push while we're going to see the Third Battle of Ypres coming up with the Passchendaele thingamajig, which you're going to find out I don't know a hell of a lot about. Anyways, 30,000 Americans are also being trained as pilots right now. So we know that's going to be rather interesting to see what coming around the corner. Hopefully we'll get to it. Let's see if we can go to, I do have to get my glasses. It's just too much. Hold on here. And please let me know if things start going a bit weird with, what did I say? Oh, yeah, I wanted to go to this. I just wanted to show this to you, but I actually did put everything in the sources and links. So that's good. There, I just wanted to make sure that I got an extra one. Do I really need to show this to you? Yeah, let's do it kind of quickly here. I'm going to go to Gift Cities. But I don't know how this really works, guys, but let's say I put in, I'm going to put in biplane. Of course, you don't know, I haven't seen it yet, but I'll show it to you. Hold on here. But anyways, the Internet Archive sent me an email saying, hey, that we have a thing called Gift Cities if you're interested in finding out about it. And I thought maybe you guys would as well. I don't know how this works because it's part of Internet Archive, so I don't know if we're allowed to use the gifts from this for yourself or whatever. But I thought anyways, if you guys wanted to know, it's in the sources and links. So I don't know if any of this is free use or what, but I mean, this is just me typing in biplane. So you can just imagine all the other crazy nonsense that goes on in here. I'm going to stop that. Now I'm going to go back to getting rid of this. And then we're going to go, hold on here. I got to get back to the narrative. There's so much on here. It's not funny. All right, hold on. Wait until you see a couple of the websites. Oh my God. You can't see anything right now. But wait until you see some of the websites. Hold on. I'm going to present the screen so you can see the narrative again. Right, there we go. So the Internet Archive's GeoCities animated gift search engine, many articles. Okay, let's go to that then. And I'm going to have to start showing you some pictures. That's right, because they're on the many articles. I just want to we're going to go hopefully rather quickly. It's just a few things that I found rather interesting this week. I thought maybe you guys would also maybe find interesting. I hope you do. And we're doing, like I said, I'm going to be cognizant of the time as much as possible. So there we go. And you guys can see that. I'll get rid of me. And it's on, that's what I've got on with mode, so don't worry about that for now. You're going to see in a minute here. Where are we here? British win brief battle. Only 2 minutes required to take the infantry hill trenches. Is mentioned quite a bit this week. Wasn't really what I wanted you guys to see. It was actually London meeting urges reprisals. I think that's about some of that social stuff going on. It's the full withdraws British prisoners from the front. Is this it? British quit positions. No, what was that? It wasn't. Maybe it was just these articles I wanted to look in general. I thought there was something here, though, that was. Anyways, let's go to the spirit of the press. So you can see that a bit. German efficiency, which I found interesting here, is that it says here, German there was someone a jolt the other day when a man in Berlin took 3 shots at the Kaiser and missed him. So that happened a little while ago, but it wasn't. What was it at the very end? This I found rather ironic. Of course, the person doesn't know what's around the corner for us. Berlin is not to be trusted. Germany is an outlaw nation today, and its government is as treacherous as it is criminal. The Hohenzollerns must be muzzled and muzzled for all time. In that direction alone lies the pathway to peace. And where is that thing? Every nation that prizes its independence would be forced to maintain vast armies and navies against the foe of humanity. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're just getting started, dude. We're just getting started. Foe admits loss of the Bremen. I'm sorry to say that, Charles Latora, but the second big commercial submarine there, it did get destroyed. And there it is. They just talk about it a bit. There's this other thing, too, to find out that smallpox is still around. Here, that's Chatham, Ontario, for goodness sakes. Britain will prevent raids. This, yet again, Charles Latora, we're going to get to your community contributions thing in the sense that you asked a few questions in one of on the posts there at the headlines. Concerning stuff, but I wanted to take a look at this, and it started setting me off on a little goose chase about whether or not the British, like the Allies, had done any strategic bombing on civilian targets before they start talking about the German raids on London, and this is where they start talking about reprisals and whatnot, and so on and so forth. And it looks so far from what I've found that the British and the French did not. Specifically target civilian, get civilian targets there at this point. They were going more for more so the French, I think, if anything, going for like munitions depots and trying to get the infrastructure. But anyways, I got that. Let's see what else is on here. The attitude of Quebec. I thought this. We're not going to. I think it's a pretty long article, so I didn't want. Maybe I'll post it on the community tab. But yet again, because of Brian R. Smith and whatnot and tie-ins, and with that, I thought yet again with the conscription thing, and we were talking about this quite a bit last week. A lot of people had a lot of interesting bits, like even William Arends and whatnot had a huge thing on Trudeau and everything. So I found interesting at the end here, Ontarian, some kind of person from there. Development of Siberia. There's a whole big long piece on what can happen to Siberia, whatnot with everything. I just like, oh brother. Oops. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to stop the screen for now. Then let's get back to this for a second. I'll pop that here, and then we can get to see what I was going to say in the window. The narrative. Right on. Okay, there we go. Back. Many articles. Oh, yeah, let's go to where I thought, why not? This makes a lot of sense for me, is since he's a fellow viewer, for goodness sakes, he's one of us. So why not put in, go and take a look each week, because he does this every single day, World War One day by day. And let's go and find out. Hold on, I just got to go to the links. And I'll grab it here. There we go. And then we can go and take a look and see what if he's got anything today listed. Hold on. All right. And hide. And it looks like he's got the 21st of June set up there. So I'll pop, hold on here. And then we'll go take a look and see what WNN put in for today. And I'll get it to giant size. And here we go. And it should work. I'll just keep my thing on. And hopefully you guys can hear it. Hey, we'll be the first person to view, first people to view it. Cool.
World War I day by day. From the British perspective, June 21st, 1915. Gorlice-Tarnów offensive. Grand Duke Nicholas Nikolaevich ordered Russian forces to abandon Galicia. Gallipoli campaign. French artillery bombarded Ottoman 2nd Division holding Kareves Spur, Kurvisdere, causing 6,000 casualties. French attacked and captured part of the crest, but didn't break through to capture the second part until 9 days later, at a cost of 2,500 casualties. Battle of Bukoba. British colonial forces from Kisumu in British East Africa raided Bukoba, German East Africa, in an attempt to destroy its wireless station. World War I day by day.
Cool.
From the British perspective.
I'm going to stop this. Done. All right, get back to me. Cool. And hopefully that'll help him out a little bit too, which would be nice. And let's get into the share the screen thing. Let's go look to see where's the narrative. There we are. All righty. And now we can get into the trivia. All right, hold on. Let me get into the banners. All right, I'm just going to make sure that So here's your first clue. And anybody new, remember, you just get a point for even just guessing. For goodness sakes, just pop in anything. Let's take a look at the remainders here. Oh, do you know what was kind of nice? I was hoping to get the if they would have, but they don't have them anymore. I was to try to see if I could purchase a poppy and have them stuck in the freaking new World War I museum for all the winners. That would have been kind of nice, but they don't have them anymore. Anyways, there's our things. And you see Brian R. Smith jumped to the top there, last week because Bailey, no one had any chance to get there with Flora Sandez or Sands. Anyways, let's stop here, and I'm going to pop in the first clue. And we have to make sure that, and as per usual, or I should say, often, I should say, is this one is, I've been in the news recently. Who or what am I? And there you go. Boink, boink. And I pop that in, and now we can go into taking a look at this. And World War I narrative logic puzzles. Hold your horses, Tolemykus. I know that you're a super good person about it. I want to go down quickly and make sure that we get some other stuff because we're already 17 minutes in, and I'm a little worried here. Tolemykus says, Hank Snow, you are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. That's for sure. Now I'll get you your second clue. Hold your horses. I got to get into it. I come from a farming family that left Ireland to escape religious persecution. Who am I? And I'll put that in the clues in the comments section. Jon Snow, Meandering Mike says. Imagine if it was the real answer, but it isn't. But you're getting a point, Meandering Mike. There you go. All right. Okay, and now we're going to get to, yes, let's go down here very quickly so you guys can see what I wanted to take a look at. And there it is, the community contributions, Brian R. Smith. And I hope to God you don't mind Brian R. Smith, but I popped in, I should have asked you ahead of time. So if you don't want me to, let me know. It's not like you said, oh, by the way, I'm sitting, in my lingerie or whatever, writing this to you or whatever. It wasn't like you were, I'm just saying, I did add in the banners part of your emails or whatever. Meandering Mike says, Lucky Charms Leprechaun. You're going to get a point, that's for sure. And you're slowly, oh, excellent. Brian R. Smith says, no worries. Excellent, thank you. Because, Brian R. Smith, you completely changed the calculus on how I'm doing it. It's mind-boggling. I was like, you're like, oh, I think there's some good high-res images. Good high-res images. So I don't care if my map ripped at the end of that video or whatever. I have to redo all the counters, everything. You should see how amazing they're looking now. It is unbelievable. I mean, I don't have to make a side thing to read the how many combat resource points each nation gets across the board. I can read it a mile away. It is like, thank you so much. So we're going to take a look at the website that you mentioned, Brian R. Smith, because it's completely changed everything now. I get to really do a good job. Tolemykus says, Potato Man, you're going to get a point that you are incorrect. Now I'm going to get you your next clue. Now we're getting a little bit scary. I think someone may get it. My surname has changed at least twice, even with me changing the spelling the same year I entered military service. Who am I? And I'll pop that in the comments as well. And there we go. Boink. All righty. And now we're going to stop the screen so we can go to present the screen of the amazing website. Spuds McKenzie. Oh, I love the way you guys are just working on each other. Jesus Murphy. Oh, brother. Meandering Mike gets a point, and Tolemykus gets a point for Old McDonald, and both of you guys are incorrect. I'll give you your next banner. But anyways, look at this website. I'm going to actually show, hold on, I'm going to show what Brian R. Smith popped in. Hi, Chris. I just watched your last video about making components for this game. You may know, which I didn't, this already, but the website, simpubs.org, is a resource for almost every SBI published game, which I didn't know, so thank you. In the World War I repository, there's a folder called High-Q that has fairly high resolution scans of the map and counter sheet. It does far better than what is available from Board Game Geek. Maybe this helps. Kind regards, Brian. Helps. You have no bloody clue. I was so happy. I just was amazed. But anyways, let me see. So I did give you that clue, and you guys, I'll pop it on again so you guys can see it. But let's go and take a look at this wonderful place. Look at this thing. There's games that didn't even, well, most of these games I don't even know about. But there you guys go. Popped it in the sources and links. But it's completely changed everything. Like, you should see the image of like the stuff that I'm getting printed off now. It's just spectacular. I'm really impressed. Oh, there's Tannenberg. Anyways, yeah, really, really impressed. So thanks again, Brian R. Smith. And I'm going to stop the screen. I'm going to present the screen, go to the share the screen, to the window. Make sure we get to the narrative. Boink. And boink. And boink. All right. And I'm going to get to the next clue. One of my jobs before the war was an insurance salesman. Who am I? I'll put that on there just so you guys can't see that, but at least I can. And I'm going to put it in the next. So no one's got it yet, huh? I thought for sure. Oops. I almost added the wrong thing. Hold on here. There, put in the comments. Boink. One of my jobs before the war was an insurance salesman. Who am I? And you guys don't know that. And here's the next community contribution. Last week, Bayonets to Bullets was talking about when I was showing the game. Oh, nice one. You guys are terrible. You're both like, what is wrong? Are you guys actually communicating with each other privately and I just don't know? This is crazy, weird. Because, well, I'm going to show you what Tolemykus put in. What the hell? Oh my gosh, it's so weird. So anyways, you guys are both getting points, but you're both incorrect. And I pop that back in, and now we're getting into, I got promoted this week due to my former boss's job to my after he was promoted. Who am I? I'll put that in the comments. I know, Ashley, it's like, what are the odds, man? It's freaky weird. There we go. Charles Latora says Pershing. Excellent, excellent one, but you are incorrect. Just due to the fact that he was in the news monstrously this week. He's in France, for God's sakes. We just saw him dine with the royal family, I think, what, last Saturday or whatever. So well done, Charles Latora. Anyways, oh my gosh, you guys don't see the last one. When I show this one, I think somebody's going to get it. Yeah. Brian R. Smith says John McCormack. I don't know who that person is, so I'll have to look that person up someday, but you're going to get a point. Charles Latora gets a point for I have no idea. And there you go. And I'm going to put it in, put the last clue in the comments. And I'll reveal it in the banners. My nickname used to be Guts and Gators. Who am I? McAdoo. Meandering Mike says, or I don't know how to pronounce that, but you're going to get a point. But you are incorrect. So my nickname used to be Guts and Gators. Who am I? And now we're going to get to the, oh yeah, the battle bayonets and thingamajig. Hold on here. I'm going to get to the, I can get rid of the trivia. Yeah, I don't need to see that. And then let's get back up to this. So anyways, when that person was mentioning, what was that game called In the Trenches we were looking at last week? anyways, McCormack. Oh, thanks. Brian R. Smith says McCormack was an Irish tenor who was the first to record "It's a Long Way to Tipperary." Cool. I had no idea. Thank you very much for that. Anyways, watch this. You're going to see it. So when he went, I was like, I didn't know about this game that he was mentioning. Like I said, I thought maybe I had it, but no, I do not. So you guys, anyways, there's the Great War. And I went to the Great War website, and holy up, you can download. Look at what you can download, for goodness sakes. The rules and scenarios, like all kinds of stuff. It just looks like, I mean, I don't know what else. Aha. There you go. There's the ant. Oops. How did I do that? That's, well, Charles Latora. Oh, you're going to get a point, Tolemykus. I love it. I should give you an extra one. But Brian R. Smith gets it with Arthur Curry. Well done. And I'll make sure that you get your, I'll pop in the thingamajig. There you go. I know. Meandering Mike, he's turning into you, for God's sakes. But anyways, I wanted you guys to see that. And then we're going to very quickly, I'm going to show the quick thing of Arthur Curry. And the reason why I wanted to bring in Arthur Curry, well, as you can imagine, Guts and Gators. I'll take my mother off. I've got to put that in. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And the thing is, Ashley laughed at it, and she would know if you're being truthful or not, Greg. Oh, my goodness gracious. Anyways, let me show you this. So there's Arthur Curry. I'm sure Brian R. Smith knows him, knows quite a bit about him. So anyways, he's from what I know, the mastermind for Vimy, the Battle of Vimy Ridge, and is now full on in charge of the entire Canadian Corps, or if it's just one corps, I don't know how it's. Is it just a single corps and then it's 4 divisions or something like that? So anyways, hold on. I wanted to make sure that I'm not making sure I've got, do Gators wear gator? Oh, I like that one. He was principal of McGill University from 1920 to 1933, Brian R. Smith says. And, ooh, nice one, Charles Latora. But anyways, yeah, it says here that his grandparents changed their name, I think, and then he changed it again to the Curry that you see him the way it's spelled now. So, and there you go. But anyways, yeah, he was, and then had a bit of a brouhaha. They start talking about, I'm sure, whatchamacallit knows about. Oh, there it is, the McGill University there. And then he got a really, what was that thing he had? He got into some financial difficulties and he embezzled money from some military thing and whatnot. And they found out about it later, but he had done so well militarily. I don't know how. Anyways, I don't know the ins or outs of it. But anyways, yeah, he's just got, oh, I should have left it on, darn it. He just got promoted this week after his boss, Mr. Bing, just got, Julian Bing just got promoted. And I did find out this week that Jan Smuts, I guess, is still doing some kind of upward stuff up in England or whatever. So we saw the bayonets to bullets. Aha, there you are, Charles Latora. This was your comments, include stuff that you're talking about. Air raid, Zeps or bombers, and from where? Yes, I know the bases for the Zeppelins are along the coast, but shouldn't they be raided too? Or don't the Brits have anything to reach them? Now, remember this past a couple of weeks, Charles Latora, if you don't know if you noticed, we're going to stop the screen for a second so I can get to the pictures, is that they did remember they've been a couple of weeks now been doing some attacks along the Belgian coast there. I think, was it Zeebrugge was getting nailed for it. And I was even wondering, they did some aerial reconnaissance even, and I was wondering whether or not this was like a they were getting some information ahead of time for their big raid, which I think Meandering Mike has a book on it in 1918. So anyways, let's get, we're not going to go through the whole, I didn't even read most of this stuff. If you guys can start gleaning some of this information for yourself. And yet again, like I've said before, anybody can sound like an historian if you just got the information in front of you and start reading it out. So just remember, oh, hold on here. The Curry Gymnasium is part of the McGill Sports Complex and bears his name today. Cool. I didn't know any of that stuff. Thank you. So anyways, this is the first bit of scans that you're going to see is from this book here, the First World War Atlas. And I wonder if I should, hold on here. I'll try to get the display. It's not so bad, is it? No, it's not the best. Let's get back to the thing. I want to make sure we get to it. We got, actually, what am I saying? The first part of your ATA, William Arends, but I do want to get to your pictures that you popped in, is, oh, I kind of miss Harro Bosma. Where the hell is he? But anyways, there you go. So this is the first bit of scans from this book. And let's get to them. I'm just going to show the maps rather quickly. Little devil. Oh, yeah, you better start. Oh, gosh, what am I saying? If we don't get to a thing, that's the problem about not doing Tolemykus's thing, is that if we don't get to them, we don't get to see an option F, which is not good. Anyways, here's a little bit of that little bit I just thought we would put in, put the person's Wilfred Gibson here poem. I'm not going to read it out. You guys can read it out yourself. I'll just leave it on for a little while. And I just wanted to make sure to see what I've got ticking along here. Okay, I can get rid of Curry. Boink. You guys didn't see that. Okay, let's get to the next stuff. Yep, because you guys can't see that. Let's get to the next. Boink. So there you go. There's German Zeppelin raids over Britain. Actually, let's get rid of me so you guys can see even. There we go. That's even better. Like I said, a lot of this stuff I just wanted you guys to kind of take a look at quickly. You guys can figure it out yourselves or whatever. So there it looks like. It looks like to me, I don't know much, Charles Latora, but this area here, let's take a look. You guys would know far more than I would. So I don't know what part of that is Belgium and whatnot, but you guys would know. Is it like over like here or like I don't know. I don't know anything. Oh. Excellent, Meandering Mike. So to be just in case we don't go to Tolemykus's things. So I wanted to put that. I'll leave it there for a little bit. This is London's anti-aircraft defenses by 1918. Wanted you guys yet again, Charles Latora. I don't know if this will help you out a little bit, but I want you guys to take a look. I'll try to go somewhat, not too quickly, but we've got a bazillion to go through, and we're already 32 minutes in. A Zeppelin raid and its aftermath in October 1917, so that's just around the corner. 11 Zeppelins attacked. They dropped 275 bombs and killed 36 people. Boy, we've seen a lot more than that, though. Remember, like past 2 weeks has been like, well, one was over 100. But there you go, Charles Latora and others. Hopefully you can see where some... Of course, what were we saying, Charles Latora? You got that bloody Raiders... or the that Zeppelin game, don't you? The one that just came out a little while ago. This I remember. I'm not too sure if this is also in conjunction with those bicycle patrols that they had. They had little bicycle groups going across that went across the coast in here. I thought that was interesting. Is it Hartlepool that is where the grog shed is from? I'm not really sure. I think it was somewhere around there. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably am. So there you go. I don't know. Hold on. I'll see if it's if I'll go to the different, see if you guys can see it all in one shot. What if I do this way? That's still, yeah, let's just, I'll go back to that one's not too bad. Over 800 civilians were killed and 1,500 injured in German air raids on London in 1917 and 1918. Holy shit. That's a lot, man. During September 1917, a week of continuous raids reduced many of the people in the East End to panic. Over 300,000 people took shelter in the underground. To reduce panic, the government persuaded newspaper editors to cease publication of pictures and to modify accounts of air raid destruction. Wowzers. And this one I'll bring out. Hold on here. Get it a bit bigger. There we go. But I certainly want to go to the BGG game of the week. I lost my marbles. And Meandering Mike, please, for the love of God, find out if you've got this in your collection or anybody else. I'm just throwing it out, Meandering Mike, because he's got 4 trillion games, for God's sakes. Anyways, here we go. Oh, Camp Sawyer, great to see you. Hope you're doing well. I'll pop your thing on there. Oh, good. I'm glad you're liking this. Yeah, this has all started. Another thing that I'm trying to do as well. I was talking about this with Zoe Dufour because I know she's a crafter. And I was noticing the past couple of weeks that there's been a lot of mention of scrapbooking and whatnot of soldiers and people from the front on the at the home front. And I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'll do a little focus for her as well. And yet again, I love these ideas of trying to give back to the other mud gluttons and whatnot. So I thought, there we go. June 1916, before the strategic raids began, 26 women, 100 were killed, and then away they went. Wow. And how many more? So here's this other book that I've got, Biplanes and here. No, I'm just gonna leave it on. You guys can see the full on. But this book I wanted to go and find out if I could find out whether or not there was actually, like I said, if the British were actually bombing civilian targets. It doesn't look like it from what I can read here. Where is it here that I wanted to read? Finally, raids against Zeppelin bases. The doctrinal tradition that aircraft could best defend Britain by taking the offensive against the enemy had already been established during the early RNAS, which is what? Royal Naval Aerial Service. Raids against Zeppelin bases. Finally, the interest of the Admiralty in the more indirect application of force as opposed to the War Office's increasing fixation with the titanic struggle on the Western Front made the notion of striking at the German war industry with naval air forces seem particularly attractive. Defense against Zeppelin raids, but I couldn't find anything that started talking to them about like here it is. Emphasized that an organized and systematic attack on the enemy home front would restrict Zeppelin activities and have an immense moral effect on Germany itself. Yeah. And then it is. And now it appears essential that a definite policy of retaliation be laid down and carried into effect without any further delay. A sustained offensive will have a decided effect in weakening the enemy's activities at the front by calls for defensive measures. But then the idea that strategic bombing could force a recall of German fighter units from the front to the homeland while damaging Germany's industrial base, but they don't talk about civilian targets, was seductively attractive to Admiralty planners. This notion surfaced again in late 1917. And I think there's one more page for this. Yep. Oh, great to see you, Wardrobe Place World War II. Hope you're doing well. Mike has everything for a price, always a price. No, I know, but I'm just curious about whether or not he actually has the game. This was, I think, about, it also talks about suitable daylight bombing machines themselves. And yet again, talking about trying to start going after the German industrial base here and whatnot. Just find, like I said, I just wanted to get more and more into what, trying to, using you guys as what to look for. So when Charles Latora started talking about this in the comments, it's like, okay, this is a great focus piece. And yet again, this is another look I was trying to find about the air stuff. And this is from the Oxford Illustrated History of First World War by Hugh Strawn. And can I remember where the bloody thing is? I think this just starts talking about the drop in here during the war. Automation declined rather than advanced. Employed 1.8 workers per machine, and they start talking about the differences between like food and machinery. It's just mind-boggling, man. Of course, we have this total war stuff. There it is, machinery versus manpower, and it starts talking about yet again about like here. Where was this bit about? They start. You got to sometimes not look at the behind the numbers of why it starts seeing. Like they were saying at one time why they were not shooting as much or whatever. It had absolutely nothing to do with lack of ammunition or whatever. It was just lack of people. They just didn't have enough people to fire off the guns. I think it was around here somewhere. Like, where do you bring the guns? The people. Where do you use them, like for production of this or that actually shoot the stuff and so on and so forth. This was there. It is. Here it is. There's this bit here. Germany's holdings of artillery peaked. Aha! Here it is. The decline was deliberate, a reflection of the lack of men and horses available to service them. When confronting collapse in October, the cry of the Supreme Command was not for munitions, but for men, which I thought is totally cool. Oops. And then we'll go to this. And this is the last little bit. And hopefully we'll get on to the, we better get towards taking a look at that BGG game of the week, which because I'm going to see when one of the maps, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody actually did this. Not the entire, I'm not going to say it because I want to, it's a surprise. And then we'll get into William Arends' pictures and whatnot. So this is the World War I Illustrated Atlas by, oh, darn it. Hold on. What's his name? He does a lot of World War One, National World War One Memorial thingamajigs. But hopefully also as well here, you can start seeing where they are. The first points we use to spot enemy movements, make accurate maps, and help artillery. Yep. And after a while, we figured out what was going to go, which I'm trying to model, as you know, with my narrative game. I'm trying to right now with the aerial reconnaissance. Right now, you can't use your points to like to try to attack other whatevers, but they're getting into it. Kind of sets the ball in motion. But I want you guys to take a quickie look at this. Like I said, I'm not going to go through the whatevers, but maybe I'll give you an idea of where things were. 2,500 planes along that front. Oops. First air raids. There you can see. Oh, this is the Zeppelin stuff for sure. If they're going to start showing the whatever. London targets after British raid on Germany, the Kaiser decided that London was a legitimate target. In late May, 2 Zeppelins set off from Germany for the British capital, although only one made it past Margate on the Kent coast. Ah, what is that? What's this in reality? The Zeppelins proved to be too slow and too susceptible to enemy countermeasures. But until the Germans could introduce more powerful airplanes capable of carrying a large payload across the North Sea, the Zeppelins were the instruments of Germany's strategic bombing campaign. They terrified people, but the British began to develop ways to defeat them. But it seems like right now they still aren't. Boy, we've seen, remember those pictures of those Zeppelins with the skull and crossbones on the front? Jesus Christ, that would scare the hell out of me. There's the largest air raid. Where's that coming from? Holy shit. Okay, I see what you mean. There's just a ton of airships. And then the bombing of England, it starts talking more of that and starts showing where they're doing it. You certainly see like where they're doing it. I think that's obviously the closest distance as well. Had based their air defenses inside the Royal Naval Air Service because German Zeppelins had to cross the water to attack the United Kingdom. British pilots relied on incendiary bullets to target the airships because they relied on explosive gases for lift. This method produced some successes, but the introduction of the Gotha bomber rendered RNAS tactics less effective. British air defense systems were too rudimentary to meet the new threat. Interesting. I remember we just found out a few months ago that they stopped producing Zeppelins. They've decided, screw that. We're going to put our eggs into these airplane basket. The new system of defense had both air and land components. In late July, the British activated the London Air Defence Area as part of an integrated air and ground network of anti-aircraft systems. I don't know what these. Oh, I see. It's the flight path. I get it. Okay. I was wondering the first time I was looking at these, I didn't understand. All right. Aircraft on the Western Front. Still, oh my God, we're doing terrible for time. Boy, look at that. There's a lot more planes now, they're saying. Under naval control, there's that. That's holy shit. Oh, I see. That's the whatever. It's the Germans. And British strategic bombing. British efforts turned to targets such as German rail lines in France and Belgium. Junctures, marshalling yards, and storage areas also became obvious targets. But like I said, I've not found any anything that looks like they were actually deliberately targeting civilian areas. Oh, yeah, this I just wanted to show you this quick. I just picked this up yesterday at the bookstore Chapters, which blows me away. They've got strategy and tactics and all this stuff, but they got the Brusilov offensive. This is actually reenactors, believe it or not. And I just wanted you to very quickly, I'll put it on the maybe normal size. But anyways, yeah, just to let you know that issue's out. I'm going to stop the screen temporarily, put me in there. Thanks. Thanks, Meandering Mike. I'm going to make sure that I get off to the side. I'm going to make sure that I get William Arends' stuff. I did show you the Quebec thing, did I? Yes, I did show you the Quebec thing. So then we're going to go to I want to make sure that I got to I did the magazine, did the mini articles. Oh, that's right, of course. So I'll just go straight up to the William thing. You haven't seen him yet, but we're going to. And then now we're going to get to the BGG game of the week, which made me lose my mind. I also, actually, you know what? One more thing we're going to do, because we're going to run out of time, and I want to make sure that I show it to you guys, is the remainder of what I thought we were going to talk about, but as per usual, we're not. So there you go. Video of the week. Oh my God, I really would like to show this. It's not very long, too. World War I aircraft in flight in views of the famous German ace pilot Manfred von Richthofen. I thought that would be kind of neat. This is the game over there. I really want you guys to take a look at this and knock my socks off. So I did show you the article in the Brusilov Offensive. The Western Front Association has a bunch of beautiful talks coming up. The Spring Offensive, last stand at Villers-Bretonneux. The battle guide, that's on YouTube. They just did this week. I wanted you guys to know about this. I found this out. I don't know how the hell I found this out. The best cavalry charge filmed ever. And it's so pro-British. It's insane. It's like straight out of I thought I was watching. Oh my God, it's just ridiculous. But if you want to watch it, it's there. It's on. We just saw this a little while ago with the Australians and whatnot in Beersheba, 1917. And okay, goody. So that means I can go straight off to the thing, because I don't have to show any of that anymore, I don't think. Boink. Hold your horses. Let's go to, do I have it? No, but I'm going to go to, oh my God. So Meandering Mike, for the love of God, see if you've got this game. If you do, you lucky son of a devil. I'm going to tell you that much. Oh my God. You'll see why. You're going to... Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? You're going to see why. This is why. Can you see the little thing right over here, guys? I'm going to show my... Well, I'm blinking it back and forth here. Well, I'm going to show it to you. Do you understand why I lost my freaking marbles? Hello. Africa. Look at that. I think it's like 30 miles to the Hex or something. Africa, my friends. Can you imagine doing your own make-believe or whatever? Say, screw this, let's go with it. Let's see if the Germans decided to really... it's only a bit of a bummer there. I don't know if it's added on later, if it's another part of it. But it'd be great to know. I'm sorry, guys, but that just... I lost my marbles. I couldn't believe that somebody actually has a game at that scale where you could probably do a half-decent operational... I know Wardrobe plays World War II. I just was like, are you joking? Are you... This is, to me, pardon the pun, but this is a game changer for me. I mean, come on, for the love of God. So if you've got that game, Meandering Mike, and you're right, Charles Latora, now it's like, oh my God. Yeah, I would spend just to have those maps. Oh, of course, yeah, I'm not looking. I'm still stealing. Okay, now let's look at the pictures. All right, hold on here. When we get to them. Yeah, it was a jaw dropper and a half. Oh my goodness gracious me. Okay. So can I show that? Yeah, let's just super quick, because I've already got it there. We didn't do we're doing okay. We're doing okay. You're right. We still got all right time. But I wanted you guys to see this very quickly. So these are upcoming bits, upcoming talks. And this is just from the Kent branch, Northwest branch, man. So July 15th, Operation Mars. There's a summer, and then their military justice during the Great War. I wonder if they would be talking about the French mutinies and that. That'd be interesting. Low-flying ground attacks on the Western Front. That'd be interesting. Well, they all would be. Come on. But so that's some interesting stuff going on ahead. And get rid of that. We're going to wink. I'm going to put that there. And then we're going to go to taking a look at William Arends' pictures. But the first one I could show, of course, because you guys didn't see it yet. I'm going to stop the screen, present, Then we're going to see William Arends. Big time. There you go. And there you are at this warehouse gaming convention. And I'm now going to go to the thing. Oh, yes, of course. I did add your banners, your things in here. Let's see if I can find them. So here are some pics from the weekend at the Warehouse Game Day in Vaughan, Ontario, north of Toronto. I'll be attempting to play Paths of Glory with a gamer from Kitchener named James Whitmer. And anybody who goes to the counter clipping show and whatnot certainly knows who James Whitmer is. He's on there often. I've said hello to him. He's a super nice guy, it seems. Anyways, let's go to your stuff. I want to make sure that I get to it. Oops, I got to go to, what am I doing? Hold on here. I'm going to go back to, there we go. Now we're good. Now I'm just going with with whatever the pictures are. Not going to go in order. It's just whatever they came out and downloaded. And we'll just hope to God that you tell us who's whom and all that stuff. Here are some pictures of James Whitmer setting up Paths of Glory. I'm assuming, I don't know if that's it. It doesn't look like it, the hill or whatever. And one, David Bloomberg, the organizer of the event, a few more of the tables. Okay, so that's what it is. And all right, so I'm going to pop that away. And then we're just going to go, like I said, we'll just go through the pictures here. Ooh, I wonder what that is. Here, I'm going to see if you guys, I'll make it giant size or that weird width thing. And then we'll go this way and see if that helps. Maybe you guys would know what that is. That game is. Is that a Napoleonic game? What does that look like, guys? Any idea? Looks rather Napoleonic, eh? That's a Library of Napoleonic Battles. Okay, thanks. Beautiful looking map. I just something about that type of simplicity is just so nice. What is that? MTB or MBT or something? Yep. Really? Oh my God, Meandering Mike. Thanks. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, so. Ooh, what's that? Is that Paths to Glory? Nope. Okay, thanks, Wardrobe. What is that? Something about the Reformation? Interesting. Thanks for these pictures, William Arends. It's getting a lot of people to talk about them, which is awesome. And I think I know that person. Oh, thanks, Manny Mike. And Wardrobe confirms the Dark Summer. Is that a part of that? No, it isn't. Is this a kind of like a an offshoot of the Simonich or whatever the hell his name is? That's James Whit. Nope. Someone are those Canadian? Oh, those Canadians in the wild. Oh wow. Okay, thanks. This looks very much like okay. This looks very much like what is that GMT thing? Don't you find? I love the open, and I guess with that big long thing, I don't know. I'm assuming it would soak up with all that concrete. Would it not soak up the Oh my God, there's James Whitmer. Totally cool. What the hell are those things? Are those chit holders or? Yeah. Are these so you put your counters in there? Or is that to like hide things? Or I don't know what's going on. Oh, okay, that's the end of that. That's for me doing my crafty business. Okay, hold it. Stop the screen. I'll put me back on here. Okay, the playwright holder. Okay, thanks, Meandering Mike. I didn't know what they are. You know what? Let's go and take a look at the. You said we're doing okay for time, and I can get rid of this, and we're going to go hopefully take a look at the Baron von Richthofen thing, and then we're going to look at. Ashley, hope you have a great to see you, man. It was super. Oh my God, what the hell am I doing? It started off already. I'm like, hey. Yes, I hope you have a great day as well. I hope I get to see you tomorrow. And there we go. Hold on here. Don't you dare. So I'm going to let you know what it says. First, I think I've got it in the. Okay, I'm going to get rid of me entirely. Now hold your horses. I want to see if I can. Actually, I've got to just get to here so I can look. I think I have it in the. It's just I want you guys to see what they said about the video. But so you're going to see. I'll read it out. Thanks, Meandering Mike. I'm going to read it out as quickly as possible here, so you guys will know what's going on because it's huge. Unless. No, I'll just say it's a Henkel HE-57 amphibian monoplane we're going to see. And then we're going to see von Hindenburg and other German dignitaries present at the 1925 reinterment of Manfred von Richthofen. Oh, brother. Charles Latora, you're terrible. And yeah, okay, goody. So it's just going to be that, and it's not very long. So here we go. As you can see, it's only a minute, whatever. Okay, so let's get to make sure I put this giant size. There you go. Oh, nice one. And who is a huge model train? Neil Young is a huge model train thing. I don't know. He didn't do that song. Who am I thinking of? A different person. Anyways, I'll shut up and we'll go on to this. And here we go. So that's that. This is the amphibious plane. This freaked me out. Wait until you see this. Holy shit, man. Does this guy ever do some spins? I'd be puking my band. I'd be puking. Okay, it's America. Thanks, Meandering Mike. Was the band. Look at this. Jesus. I don't know about you guys, but it certainly shows me. Imagine the forces that are going, like those planes are undergoing. And it's, impressive. And parachuting. That was so neat to see. And they said this is a model plane. I was wondering about that too, because I was like, oh, I didn't know that, Tolemykus. I'll put your thing up in a minute. I just didn't want to screw up the video here. You notice one thing? They're all thin. Not a single. Not a whatever, right? No big pots on them. Oh, that's it. Okay. I'll stop the screen. And I'll pop your thing on, Tolemykus, so everybody can see what the heck you're saying. And then I can go back to this, because we're eventually going to go to it. So, yes, exactly. Oh, there you are. And we got to talk. Thank you again for mentioning what that game was last week, because like I said, I went off to their website and found I can download the rules, scenarios ad nauseum. It's insane. And then I'm just going to make sure that other people get their stuff. And there's Meandering Mike says that. And I'm going to show you what From Bayonets to Bullets says about what I was mentioning there about it looks, and you're right. That's what I was assuming too. You could, I can't remember. It was like the average weight of the German infantryman, I think at the end was like a little under 120 pounds, for goodness sakes. So there we go. And hold on. I want to take a look very quickly and see if I can. No, so we already talked about this as far as I know. So we're all right. That's right, of course. What am I saying? I was worried about that. Okay, William Arends, you sent me a ton of material. I wasn't able to get to, like I said, I was able to edit some of it. I did record the first installment, and we'll see how we go from there. But I would like to hold on. I want to see if I can take a very quickie look and see the information that you did pop in, because I want to see what is around the corner for us to talk about. So here's your part 2. I found this article about the Stockholm Peace Conference that was mainly about the German Social Democrats in attendance there and the type of peace agreement that they were wanting to support, which is, I'm like, thank you so flippin' much, because I want to get it from the other side of it. Also, what did you say? Oh yeah, well, let's read it quickly then. The proposals that they were in favor of included a limit on the type and the amount of reparations to be assessed after the war. 2, a limit to the annexation of territory and changes to borders after the war. And I don't know about you guys, but I find this perfect timing with Tolemykus's quote this morning, and because I'm going to show you if I can find it. I know it'd be under comments. I'd have to go from here to tomorrow. Hold on, it should be way at the beginning. Is this? Remember, this is from Hindenburg to the Kaiser. These dangers lie not only in military setbacks, but in the political disunion and discontent at home. Every sign of exhaustion and longing for peace on our part can only prolong the war. And boom, here they are talking about what they would like to do. This is so cool. A limit to the annexation of territory and changes to the borders after the war. A respect for national identities to include setting aside autonomous regions inside of established states for ethnic and linguistic population groups, or where necessary, recreating nations with new borders, making new rules and regulations for trade, business, and workers, as well as courts to arbitrate international disputes, and for the protection of human rights. In terms of border issues, these Germans were adamant that Alsace-Lorraine remain a part of Germany. Certain parts of Russia, such as Poland, should return as sovereign nations, and the nationalities inside of Austria-Hungary receive some accommodation, but along with the input of the government in Vienna. The newspaper that printed this article was the Breslauer Zeitung. There are no issues of this paper that are available in the archive after June 1917. So I wanted to access an article while they were still current with the chronology of the live stream. The city of Breslau was the capital of the province of Silesia, which was on the eastern border of the German Reich. I'm sure because of the geographical position, along with the fact that Silesia had a sizable Polish population, made the readers of this newspaper very aware of the possibility of border changes. After World War I, a part of Silesia would be given to Poland, and after World War II, all of Silesia would become Polish. It is interesting that the German delegation to this peace conference was not as firm about the territorial integrity of Austria-Hungary then than they were about the borders of Germany. However, one thing was clear even in 1917, that neither borders nor populations were likely to stay undisturbed in the rest of the 20th century. And what did you say? Oh no, I'm reading very old stuff. Hold on here. And boink, I want to make sure that I popped in Tolemykus's thing here from Hindenburg's June 19th, 1917 memorandum to Kaiser Wilhelm II, conveyed jointly with Ludendorff as they wanted of failing domestic morale and its strategic consequences. Oh my gosh, I now wish I had that book. I got it at work. I left it at work. Well, I lent it out to somebody at work. On a Knife Edge by Holger Afflerbach. You guys haven't picked that book up, I strongly recommend that book. And we're not going to get to this. We're not going to get to it now, William Arends, because it'll take me forever to read this. But I want to go also to the third one, or did I not? I thought I did a number 3. Maybe I just didn't put it in there. Hold on. And a fourth. Let's just take a look at what you read and go from there. Here are some articles for the past week in the war. The first is from the Breslauer newspaper with news from the West Front and a report of an anti-draft demonstration in Sherbrooke, Quebec, Canada. Totally cool, especially as you know who we got as a fellow mud glutton, Brian R. Smith, a Quebecer. The next are from German newspaper Deutsche Zeitung with an official dispatch from the higher headquarters and another from the Navy on the U-boat war. So we will get to these eventually. I'll figure out how to do them. And then number 4, translator's note. I hope you have time to look over the submission. Well, I was able to edit it or go over it quickly. It ties in well with the report of the Social Democrats from the Stockholm Conference. Here are 3 short articles about international politics from Berlin's latest news. The first one deals with the convention of Polish dignitaries belonging to the Polish Center movement. This movement consisted of Polish nationals who were working under the German administration. How much their national aspirations would have been realized had the Central Powers won the war, we can only speculate. But according to the Social Democratic memorandum, it was an issue that the Germans were willing to consider. The second article first tells of the deportation out of Greece of anyone belonging to or suspected of being a supporter of the Central Powers by the High Commissioner Jonart. That is the first paragraph. The second seems to be an account of a debate in the House of Commons in Great Britain, where the Undersecretary for Foreign Affairs, Robert Cecil, is giving the position of the British government concerning the change of government in Greece. The last is a dispatch from Sofia, Bulgaria, responding to the changes in Greece. Oh, shoot, that would be interesting. That have put Bulgaria and its alliance with the Central Powers in a much more precarious position. Okay, how about we go to that one quickly, and then we're going to go to the after hours thingamajig. And I will say this at the very minimum, William Arends, at least as far as I'm concerned, we got to the best part of your material, which is your translator's notes, for goodness sakes. I want to hear what you really think about things. Anyways, let's get to this bit about Bulgaria, man. Hold on here. Aha! Venizelos, England satellite. Sofia, 18th of June. The official Narodny Prava, the People's Truth, wrote on the question of whether the Greek people will now go along with being silenced by force. The Entente and their collaborator, Venizelos, will soon have to decide if they will allow a loosening to occur. Every attempt to attack us, the Bulgarians, has been broken up without mercy. Bulgaria fears no one. We Bulgarians know that our freedom and justice must be defended. The tragedy of Greece is the tragedy of its worthy people and their king, who would not bow down to malicious foreigners and thus defend their righteous honor. The tragedy of Greece is at the same time a scandal for the civilizations of England and France. And we're going to end it there. Boink. And I'm just going to say thank you extremely much, William Arends. I'll try. Look, your contributions are not going to go in vain. I can tell you that much. Like I said before, I'm absolutely just blown away by what you're doing and giving to us. It's not funny. So thank you so much. But people, we've got things to do. Everybody's got things to do. So here we go. Like I said, I did record. What am I doing? Of course, I keep forgetting that's how I'm going to do it. Hold on here. I've got to make sure that I've got it in here. Where are you? I know I've got you there. Aha. The Arends translation nutrition. So we're going to watch that first, which is 19 minutes long. And then once that ends, I'll slap on the war summary, which is 35 minutes long, and that'll be our after hours. And I have to do it that way because I talk about the ATA because I did it first and I started adding bits of it. Anyways, that's it. I hope you guys have a great remainder of your weekend and a great week. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up and contributing. It's been fantastic. And like I said, I really like this idea of maybe if somebody says something or whatever, and it's like, hey, wait a minute, that'd be a good focus bit for one of the shows, and it seemed to work for me, anyways, to go and take a look about the air stuff that Charles Latora mentioned. Like I said, now I'm going to maybe take a look at some scrapbooking stuff. Put it aside, and like if Zoe Dufour is there that day for the entire stream, I can put that on and do that kind of thing. That would be great to see. And great, I hope you do as well, Brian R. Smith. Hope you take care. Anyways, here we go. I'm going to start popping it on. Thanks a lot, Greg. Hope to see you tomorrow. And let me pop that on, and then I'm going to make myself disappear and turn off my microphone, and away we go. All right, see you later, guys. Ran less than 2 hours sleep, need to nap. See you, Meandering Mike. Sleep well. Or maybe, hopefully, you put me on a very low volume so I can get an extra viewing in. Okay, see you later. Sleep well. All right, and here we go. First off, I'm going to say is thank you very much, William Arends, again, for providing the material for the Arends Translation and Nutrition, ATA, for live stream 122 for us. And secondly, that I am going to mispronounce some words, so I'm not even I'm not even going to try. So we'll just go from there. And the nice thing is you're going to see, well, you see a little bit right there, is that William Arends discusses how he goes about translating some of the material, which is great. Anyways, here we go. Translator's note. I make these translations in a two-step process. In the first draft, I try to get as close as possible to a word-for-word translation. Often this translation does not read smoothly in English, so in the second draft, I try as closely as possible to translate the idiomatic German into an idiomatic English while still retaining the meaning of the original German text of the article. This process also helps me to catch any errors that I might have made in geography, grammar, or spelling in that first draft. The articles I'm sending you from June 5th and June 10th, 1917 are from the Königsberger something or other Zeitung in the province of East Prussia, something or other referring to the name of the publishing house that was printing this newspaper. Under the names of Rützner and that place, this publishing house has been in existence since 1640. Holy smokes. I find this to be another reminder of what was lost to German culture when East Prussia was divided between Russia and Poland after 1945, and Königsberg became Kaliningrad. In this, I hold Germany completely responsible, not only the Nazi regime's unsustainable belligerence, but also the Kaiser's government for sending Lenin and the Bolsheviks back to Russia, creating the conditions for the establishment of the Soviet Union. That became one of the starting points for the totalitarian ideological madness that disrupted so much of the course of international affairs in the 20th century. In using different newspapers from different regions of Germany, I am trying to see if there are any variations in how these outlets view the war, domestic policies, and world affairs. Of course, that is not happening if these papers are using the same censored sources of news, such as the Wenzel Telegraphic Bureau, WTB. And that sounds very similar to what's been happening with the Allied newspapers. I've seen repeated articles. So bang on. The articles translated from the 5th of June contain information about battles on the Western Front and on the Italian front. There's also a short report about demonstrations in the USA, really, concerning the draft levy and the American war aims. We didn't hear about that. The articles from the 10th from the Allied newspapers. So another thing we didn't hear about, which would be interesting to see if William Arends is going to find. There's no mention of the French mutiny so far, and then we're going on. I'm going to go and find out how long. Anyways, the articles from the 10th of June include another report from the Western Front and a brief report about the mistreatment of German POWs by their French guards. The Königsberger something or other newspaper, Tuesday, 5th of June, 1917, morning edition. The publishing house, formerly Rützner, established 1640, a failure for England on the West Front. 180,000 Italian losses at the 10th Battle of Isonzo. On the Wischite Bend, the English, in a long-prepared operation, nevertheless, this time resulted in an especially high cost and still was an unprofitable effort. Their full artillery barrage did not have its required effect and was not helpful in advancing the apparently planned main attack. Rather, at many other positions elsewhere and further to the south, they undertook another series of attacks. Here they also had no success. But this had been noted by their army reports out of London that stated the English troops who had advanced could not hold their ground against the German counterattacks. The French had received new information about the offensive capacity of our troops around the Crayonna and Bray. Some of those troops who had seen action elsewhere were from West Prussia. These troops have recently taken 250 French POWs as well as 30 machine guns. The Parisser reported that the French were not concerned with insignificant matters, but where reports would be unfavorable to the French, they would want to put forth higher numbers of German prisoners that had been taken since Easter in combined French and English assaults. It is necessary to say that these numbers must be noted with reservations. On the other hand, there are indisputable estimates of the Italian losses in the 10th Battle of Isonzo, as reported by the Austrian-Hungarian General Staff. Half of the entire Italian army group have taken part in this 40-kilometer wide offensive. Holy smokes. Remember, that's only 2 Derville Creek hexes. That's ridiculous. Of these troops, 16,000 Italian prisoners have been taken prisoner, and over 160,000 soldiers have been killed or wounded. This means that their losses have gone over 180,000 as the cost of this offensive. Those allied with us should be proud of the results of this defeat of one of our enemies. And how would that be? Let's say 16,000. That's roughly about a division, would you not say? So that's about 11 divisions. You're saying that they've or even more, like, my goodness, 12 maybe? Demonstrations in America demanding a declaration of its war aims. Wenzel Telegraph Bureau, WTB, June 4th. A special publication out of London reported about the great demonstrations in the USA, especially in New York, in favor of the Stockholm Conference. Awesome. And against the planned troops levies drafts of the American government, and about how the public wanted a clearly stated set of USA war aims. Remember, the Stockholm Conference was for the socialist thing. Holy moly. Königsberg, thank you so much, William Arends. The June 20th morning edition, the day when the English had to pause out of fatigue. No advantage is gained despite the placement of new, heavier units, fierce fighting along the Souchez Brook. There's a growing exhaustion of the Englishmen caused by the heavy losses that they have taken. These losses have happened in such a way that yesterday they had to refrain from taking part in a great clash of arms. Only their artillery east of Messines and Wischite spoke for them throughout the night, using their destructive fire against our positions. How little effective this has been up to now was discovered by the Australians in their futile attack in the vicinity of Messines. The evening first brought new battles on both banks of the Ypres-Comain Canal, an unfinished canal that was in many places just a reedy depression, oh my gosh, and the fight by the crossing of the Douvre River. But at these places, our defense was at its highest. At the same time, they had made advanced attacks to a certain extent with their reserves from the Canal of La Bassée up to the Cissé Brook in the southern part of the battlefield. But here it was shown to them that the Germans had not weakened the defense of their troops on what had been formerly the main front of the battlefield of Flanders. This defense held despite the sorties of considerable strength of the attackers. These positions remained without exception in the possession of our defenders. Against these thrusts carried forward towards our trenches, regiments from the Hesse and Silesia again drove those enemies out. This day of battle proves that the English army's offensive, despite all of its heaviest sacrifice of blood, was not capable of staying in the flow of its advance, and therefore their troops were quickly at the end of their effectiveness. Once they came to a stop, they then had to face the situation that a new plan must be prepared again. As someone in their headquarters viewed it, the English troops must begin once again with their destructive massed artillery fire. As our enemies try to overwhelm us with their methods and breakthroughs, so should we be prepared with the defensive systems of our formations in depth in such a way that the enemy infantry will only have the slightest success in any of their assaults, and we will hold on to the greater part of what we have had conquered. Our enemies want to force a decision on the battlefield. Because of this, they have made this summer offensive following on their broken up offensive of earlier in the year. Thus, they carry on this insanity from one attempt to another. Their initial successes that they would want to build into a victorious campaign lead these people and their troops to the point of exhaustion. But even if they have the courage to go on further, those troops will only be led to the slaughter. Perhaps these futile attempts have advanced their understanding further than that of someone still serving an apprenticeship, so that now they could recognize the reality in which we already have an unshakable belief that this German front is unshakable. This is so cool because I just finished watching the Indian Idol Great War channel, I think for this week roughly, and they talk about how Douglas Haig right now has been going for a week long, talking with Lloyd George and whatnot about going, hey, I think we can really do another Flanders offensive, aka Passchendaele, Third Battle of Ypres, and they're going through it, and he goes, don't worry, if it fails or something, I'll be able to pull out just like Neville did and whatnot. And it's like, oh brother. Anyways, it sounds like the Germans have clued in quite a bit of already of this type of thing. It's just amazing because it's like Douglas Haig is no longer in an apprenticeship situation yet. I just find this, especially right up here. What is it? Because of this, they've made the summer offensive following on their broken up offensive of earlier, which is the Neville offensive. Oh my gosh. And here they are. And they just keep on doing it. So this is really good stuff. Anyways, French bestiality. Holy Moses. Wenzel Telegraph Bureau, WDB, 9th of June. A French sergeant from the infantry regiment number 16 who had been captured near Monthau in German Hochberg on the 31st of May told us of a serious incident as follows. After the French attack on the 20th of May, a number of German soldiers had been taken prisoners. While being transported to the rear, some of these captives had lost their lives when a sack full of grenades set to go off were placed near to them. The exploding hand grenades cut through some of the captured soldiers, killing them, while wounding other prisoners who were close by. Yowzers. Well, it sounds also what I've been hearing from the other reports there from, Rob Johnson there. He was talking about accounts of the British, and you can start seeing like the higher casualty rates or the lower amount of prisoners, the further away you are from the first line trenches kind of thing. Of course, you don't want to be bringing your prisoners back. So, oops, I guess that guy didn't make it kind of thing. Not saying that's what happened, but it sounds a lot like, anyways, translators note these next articles are from the German newspaper from Berlin. They cover the situation in Greece to include the German view of the abdication of King Constantine and the increasing occupation of Greece by the Italians. This is freaking awesome. Because as we know, we've been only getting it from the Allied slant, and boy, oh boy, is it ever, oh my gosh, is it ever biased. I'm sorry that I was not able to get any of this material from any of the 3 newspaper issues in this email to you for the 14th June live stream. No worries at all, since much of the content of these articles mirrors what you brought out in your after-hours newspaper reports. At any case, these articles from the German newspapers will give a much different perspective on the same events that you have covered. The 3 articles on the events in Greece cover the first administrative aspect of the abdication. The second is a copy of the letter of the abdication that King Constantine had to accept before he was granted transport out of the country. And the third is about the Italian occupation of the city of Janina, Greece, and into the region of Epirus. Awesome. The German newspaper, a nonpartisan newspaper for national politics. Berlin, Wednesday, 13th of June, 1917, evening edition. The King of Greece abdicates by reasons stipulated by the Entente. King Constantine has abdicated in favor of his son, Prince Alexander. I'm just going to say this as well. I think people have known who's following this stream and the channel. I'm pretty biased about how I feel about what's been going on with Greece, with the Allies. And when I read this the first time, I'm like, I agreed. I think with everything the German newspaper said, and I went, oh my gosh, am I ever in trouble? Anyways, here we go. The time of trouble. So the King Constantine has abdicated in favor of his son, Prince Alexander. The time of troubles for the King of Greece has come to its end, which could no longer be in doubt in these recent days. The Entente powers have achieved their goal of removing the king with whom they were uncomfortable. Now Venizelos has been paid his price in this land of political desperados. Already a few days ago, information came through the lines that a plan for the solution of their Greek problem was coming about through decisive measures, the main one being the bringing on of Jonart by the Entente to the post of High Commissioner for Greece. Jonart had first been chosen to be the French ambassador to Greece. However, it was preferred by the belligerent powers to put him into the position of High Commissioner, thereby granting him a greater authority. What tasks Jonart would be expected to accomplish at this assignment can be best ascertained by what the French press have previously written. The Petit Parisien has declared whoever it is who controls the direct line of public affairs in Greece can no longer be articulated. However, Jonart's political position will become more clear in the next few days. The difficulties of the Entente have surely caused exaggerated fears to have sprung up, but how the king and the Greek government still preferred the circumstances to be able to speak against the Entente, especially around the issue of preventing them from confiscating the harvest of Thessaly. Remember, we saw that in an Allied newspaper article a few weeks ago about them talking about make sure you get the crops. So they were pretty open about it then. The times let out the supply of foodstuffs for the Army of the East had to be secured. Under the former government, the Thessaly harvest was in danger of being made unavailable for the Army of the East. The Greek government had intended to get that harvest into their hands in order to bring about an end to the fears of a Greek bread deficiency, making the blockade of the Entente ineffective and void. Remember that? Therefore, the first duty of Jonart was to make measures to bring the Thessaly harvest under the control of those in the area who were allied to the Entente. In conjunction with the promised annexation of Albania by Italy and the Italian occupation of Janina, Greece, and with the doubtless pressure caused by the promotion of Sarai, Jonart was allowed to reveal even further the unique brutality of the Entente as they sought to achieve their final goal, which was to have Greece brought under their control. The cause of the famine in Greece made it imperative to make the reports about it represent the position of the Entente's allies, and that these reports would be the only ones that would be allowed to transmit what they deemed to be right. Remember, they also took control of the newspapers, for goodness sakes. Correspondingly, the Havas reported on the situation of the decisive crisis in Athens. Last Monday morning, the High Commissioner of the Allies, Jonart, had, along with the Prime Minister Zymis, at a conference that they were both in the name of the belligerent powers, requested the abdication of the king and the naming of a successor to the throne in that meeting. Translator's note, I'm sure that the next sentence was meant to be sarcastic, especially the double exclamation points in parentheses. And let's go find out what William Arends is talking about. Zymis knows about the unselfishness of those powers, with their main goal being the unification of all Greek lands, as is the basis of their Greek's constitution. Still, Jonart replied that he wanted the final resolution of the status of the king to occur that evening after a meeting of the Crown Council had been convened, consisting of all its members with the exception of the former prime minister. Despite certain agitations, the peace on the streets of Athens was not disturbed. Only after the abdication letter that had been produced by Zymis and Jonart, with the copy that was sent to the king being accepted as a formality by him, would the king be able to speak about his situation. He was then to be put on an English ship bound for Italy, after which he was to be transported to Switzerland. The troops that had been stood up under the disposition of the High Commissioner of the Entente powers had been given an order not to land before the final disposition of the king had been known. The communication of the abdication, Athens, 13th of June. The Prime Minister had given the High Commissioner Jonart the answer from the Crown in the following letter of acknowledgement. Lord High Commissioner, after France, Russia, and Great Britain, with their note of yesterday, made certain the abdication of His Majesty and King Constantine, with the name of the successor being put forward, the undersigned Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs have the honor to bring this knowledge to Your Excellency. His Majesty, thinking as ever about the well-being of Greece, has concluded that he must now leave Greece, and had thus named Prince Alexander as his successor. The seal of Zymis. The occupation of Greece, Rotterdam, 12th of June. As the new Rotterdamer Courant reports, another dispatch was given to the Daily Mail by the press in Athens, whereby the Italian troops that occupy Janina have ordered the Greek civil administration and its military garrison to leave that city in 15 minutes. What the hell? The Italian troops again advanced forward to occupy the area around Previsa and the rest of Epirus. It was also reported from the same source, even though it had been based on a rumor, that the troop transport ships of the Allies have arrived in the Gulf of Corinth. As far as I know, it is not a rumor, it's the truth. Troops have already landed in Gira. And there you go. Thank you so much, William Arends. And I'll pop me on a little quickly here. And I hope you guys have a great remainder of your weekend and a great week. And I think we're going to be going off to the ATA right after this bit. But thank you so much. All right, here we go. The war summary for live stream 122. So that would be June 15th to the 21st, 1917. And I did make some footnotes, but I think I'm actually going to use those to insert in the live stream proper for some of the people that don't stick around for the after hours. Here we go. War summary. German forces are now withdrawing from the positions which they occupied after the Messines battle. To what extent this retirement will be made is, of course, not yet known, but apparently it is already considerable. Oh, darn it. Of course, you guys, if anybody has been sticking around, fresh off the out of the oven is the ATA. So trying to remember what was read out about the Western Front and whatnot, and then put it in here. Anyways, correspondence at headquarters in France and dispatches last night say that it is extending farther southward. The attempts of some German military correspondents to belittle the British successes at Messines go by the board in the face of these reports. It is obvious that, having lost the Messines Ridge, the Germans, unless they could take it back, were bound to retire or run the chance of disaster. British cavalry again and infantry patrols are harassing the enemy, while the artillery is keeping up a steady bombardment of the new positions to which the enemy is retreating from time to time. It is stated in some of the dispatches that the ground over which the retirement is being made is marshy and liable to flood in wet weather, but that a long spell of fine weather has dried it up considerably, and there is nothing to prevent a comparatively rapid advance of the British. The extension of the British forward movement toward Lille and Douai can be considerably hastened by the German retreat, which is not likely to end until the Germans have crossed the east bank of the Lys River at a point around Warneton, south of Messines. The dispatches tell of considerable progress east of Ploegsteert, where the Canadians had many stern fights. It is, of course, impossible to say whether any considerable portion of the enemy will be brought to a stand before getting to prepared positions, at which such a stand could be made with a certain degree of safety. But the Germans are to be hustled in any event. Interesting way of putting it. They no longer have the initiative on this front, although when the first great retirement was in progress, it was constantly claimed in German reports that this was the real secret of the retrograde movement, which it is. Hindenburg, it was said, desired to obtain freedom of movement with the view to fighting decisive battles with the enemy. All the decisive battles so far have been launched and won by the British and the French. Oh my God, I've got to remember to find the date when the French mutinies have occurred, because there's not a peep going on right now about that. I can tell you that much. A lively engagement in the Arras sector to the south, in which the British carried hostile positions on a hill known as Infantry Hill, a point long fought for by both sides on a front of 3/4 of a mile, and captured 175 prisoners, is also recorded. General Maurice, in his review of West Front operations, rather deprecates the importance placed upon results of the explosion of 1 million pounds of high explosives preceding the attack at Messines. He states that it was certainly an aid in the attack, since it caused something like a panic among the Germans and permitted the British to get through the first lines more easily, but he is inclined to give the artillery and airmen greatest credit for paving the way to the success. He has toured the section since the attack and declared he found every dugout, every observation post, every trench, and every machine gun emplacement smashed by the artillery. This means, he says, very heavy German casualties. From the far east comes a dispatch stating that Fort Salif on the east shore of the Red Sea has been captured by British warships after a fight of 3 hours. A number of prisoners with machine guns and mountain guns were taken. The fort lies some 175 miles north of the Gulf of Aden, shown at the bottom of the map, seen elsewhere. Well, you're not going to see it here. And in southwestern Arabia, a force of Turks has for some times operated north of Aden and has more or less hampered British troops in that vicinity. It is not yet apparent whether the taking of the fortress presages an attempt to cut off the Turks in this sector only, or whether it has a larger meaning concerned with the recent successful revolt of the natives of Arabia against the Turks, and which was aided by the British and the plans of the latter for advancing in the Palestine area. Light railways have solved many transportation problems for the British in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Hold on. The news from other fronts shows that there's been lively skirmishing in the Vardar area in Macedonia and some attacks by the enemy. The result all in favor of the Allied forces, while French and British troops continue to occupy points in Greece. The Allies seem to be using a much larger force in the latter connection that was deemed possible some time ago, and this without weakening any of the forces engaged in other theaters. There's promise of big events in the campaign against the Bulgars and the Turks, particularly. On the Trentino front, the Italians report a violent attack by the Austrians on the positions recently taken from them. These attacks, the Italians say, were resisted and finally driven back with heavy losses to the enemy. In the Carso Plateau, there is fighting of only minor importance. There is some activity on the Russian front, but nothing as yet to warrant the belief that Russian advances are to be attempted on a large scale. Paris does not report any unusual incidents on the French fronts. Another Zeppelin has been destroyed, the L-43, being attacked in the North Sea by British naval forces and set on fire afterwards, breaking in two and falling into the sea. This is the 9th Zeppelin destroyed by the British, according to official reports, though unofficial but reliable tabulations put the number as high as 35. Ooh, that's a slight difference, I don't know about anybody else. 9 to 35, Jesus, Murphy. Once again, the Hindenburg Line in France figures in the dispatches, the British yesterday having captured portions of it northeast of Bellecour, overcoming sharp resistance on the part of the foe and inflicting heavy losses. News of this latest advance received last night followed upon the official report of a new advance made on Thursday evening in the Messines sector, an advance aided by German retirement over portions of the ground. The two advances made on rather widely separated sections of the British front with so short a time between each blow are further striking indications of the manner in which the initiative has passed to the Allies. The German forces are indeed on the defensive, and the fact that at many points they may violently counterattack will not alter the situation. The counterattack at Messines, which gained the Germans nothing but additions to their casualty lists, was an example of Prussian tactics. As a combination of a forlorn hope, attempted to regain important positions, and an attack because that is the correct thing to do, it was perfect. An advance from the Hindenburg Line positions, one, would take the British on the road to Cambrai. General Haig may be trying out the idea of oscillating attacks with a view to keeping the enemy mystified as to the point where the heaviest reinforcements will be required, or he may be almost prepared for an attack along the widest front over which a battle has yet been fought in the western area. You have no clue, dude. Passchendaele is coming. In any event, General Haig is wiping out many salients, straightening his line, and beating the enemy out of positions of his own choosing. I love that phrase, oscillating his positions. Well, what did they say? Where's that? Did I miss it again? As a combination of forlorn hope and intended regain position attack, maybe trying out the idea of oscillating attacks. Oh, that is so cool. In Belgium, the British campaign, already auspiciously opened, gives promise of developing. Sorry, that's Belgium, so that's where it is. I think, right? Shush, you don't know enough yet, Chris. Conjunction with the advance to the south into by far the most important of the war to date. That isn't, I guess maybe Passchendaele is in Belgium. I'll have to find this out. Cheaper's jumping. Well, it should if it's the third bottle of Ypres. For goodness sakes. Anyways, the Germans in their announcements of yesterday admit that they made not only a retirement, but add that they were pressed back by the British between Holbeke and the River Douala or something in southwest of Warneton. The retirement was due to the constant pressure of the British Second Army under direct command of General Plumer, which following the Messines Ridge battle pressed the foe into an impossible position, leaving them no alternative but that of fighting a losing battle with the waterways at their backs. The British attack was on a front of about 7 miles from the Klein Zillebeke south to the river Warnave. Now, doesn't that sound like a gaming situation there with with your counters at the back of a river where you're not allowed to retreat across a river? Anyways, it's just, I love this stuff. During the attack, the Germans lost 150 men, 1 howitzer gun, and a number of machine guns. The small loss of men indicates that the foe was fighting a rear guard action. The loss of the howitzer shows that he was hard pressed for time. Correspondents at British headquarters, while speaking cautiously of the situation, still hint that the retreat of the Germans will be continued for some distance, as there are no natural height positions for defense for some distance back. It is to be noted that if the British are able to maintain their advance in this sector, it will have a very direct and important effect on points farther south, where the struggle to eject the foe from northern France is in progress. Word that the French forces, hold on. Sorry, I'm just was drinking coffee. I'm trying to get it before it turns into iced coffee, which I can't stand. Word that the French forces are moving in conjunction with the new advances of the British will not be surprising whenever it comes. So it's not true. I did try some kind of like pumpkin spice maple thingamajig at Starbucks last October. It was actually half decent. They gave me like a little sampler or whatever. It may be assumed that the French are only waiting the right moment for them. Like it even had ice cubes in it. The right moment for a movement as planned by Generals Haig and Pétain. For the moment, there's no news of great importance from the French front. Our gallant allies are no doubt preparing to strike hard. The torpedoing of a British armored merchant cruiser in the North Sea illustrates the dangers of maintaining the blockade of Germany, which, while not spectacular, is a necessary work in bringing the Germans to the end of their resistance. Considering the amount of patrol work that the British ships have had to perform, the losses have not been heavy, and the Navy's grip on the enemy is tightening rather than loosening with pressing days. On a side note, from listening to Indian Idell's thing this week, saying that Admiral Jellicoe was saying that, giving the go-ahead with Haig's little Passchendaele plea or whatever, saying that Britain may lose the war within a year if they don't freaking take the Belgian coast. I was like, what is going on? Because they're really scared to death about starving to death, it seems. Anyways, an amazing success of the United States Liberty Loan is reported in dispatches published today. It is a cheering war item. Remember what I said before. I'm not an historian. May sound like one, but I'm not. Anybody can sound like an historian. You just have to read this out. So fact check the living dickens out of everything I say. Cheering news. Excuse me. Hold on. Oh, maybe that was like a Freudian thing. Anyways, cheering news comes from Russia in the shape of dispatches stating that the Duma in secret session passed a resolution for an immediate offensive in close cooperation with the Allies on the ground that such a course is essential for the safety and future of Russia, and that any other action would be ignoble treason toward the Allies. The workmen's and soldiers' delegates also went on record as irrevocably opposed to a separate peace. These decisions follow upon several recent dispatches to the effect that there's more or less activity on the Russian fronts, and although this activity is not developing at any great extent, there is some hope that, in spite of the disintegration of the Russian forces in several areas, a shrewd blow may yet be struck against the Teuton forces. If this should be done while the British, French, and Italians are hammering away at the enemy, there will be hope of a quicker ending of the war than is now in sight. Another Zeppelin has fallen to a British aviator. The big gas bags. Gosh, I gotta love that. A little terror now for any. Wait until this, though. Read this and then wait till you see the next paragraph. That's all I got to say. Another Zeppelin has fallen to a British aviator. The big gas bags of little terror now for any of the countries they are sent against. Yeah? We'll find out in a minute. On Saturday night, 2 airships visited the east coast of England. One of them dropping, oh yeah, that's right, this quick. One of them dropping 6 bombs on town, killing 2 people, injuring 16, and damaging a large number of houses. This Zeppelin apparently escaped uninjured. Not bad for something that has little terror now. Its comparison was driven off by the fire of the anti-aircraft guns, and it is thought was injured by them. It was attacked later by a pilot of the Royal Flying Corps, who was succeeding in setting it on fire. The airship fell to the ground and was completely destroyed. There will be intense satisfaction in the Allied countries over this punishment of the baby killers, and still moreover, the added proof of the uselessness of the Zeppelin as a military weapon. The fact that it is still vulnerable to attack by aviators, in spite of the boasted improvements, shows that offensive measures of the Allies are keeping ahead of the Zeppelin factories. And unless they mean Zeppelin factories and like modifying those Zeppelins, perhaps, but there's no more Zeppelins being made, remember. We found that out a few months ago. On the Trentino, they're now putting all their eggs in the airplane basket. On the Trentino front, Italian forces seem to be still making a fair amount of progress, having captured Corno Cavento, a strongly fortified mountain position in the eastern sector of the Trentino with several heavy guns. The pressure of Cadorna's troops in this region would seemingly indicate the determination to push the campaign here on a larger scale, than was at first thought possible. Carrying to a decisive conclusion, a campaign in this direction would strike a blow at the very heart of Austria, and there is some speculation as to whether Cadorna is going to try such a campaign, while at the same time holding positions already gained on the Carso, or even pressing his advance there also, with Trieste in view. The Italian army must be very strong indeed to conduct two such campaigns under amazingly difficult conditions and on fronts very far apart, which I did not know they were doing. That's pretty impressive. It is, don't you think? The Italians are certainly doing their bit. And if the Russians come in, an amazing change may soon come over the situation on the whole of the fighting fronts. On another side note, remember, we found out a few months ago that Falkenhayn was thinking, boy, maybe we should actually, guys, be helping out the Austrians and trying to knock out the Italians this way. This will help it out. And ironically, I just found out that there's some, I don't know who it was, but some people were saying maybe we should send 12 British divisions from the Western Front to help out the Italians at around the same. Pretty cool. From the Western Front, there's no news of great importance. The British have repelled attacks on the ground gained in the Ypres-Comines area and have advanced a little, while in the Bullecourt sector there is some fighting, which is mentioned in the ATA. The Germans, of course, make the usual claim of repulsing every attack. European and British views incline to the belief that Hindenburg contemplates, if he is not already underway, another big retreat similar to that which was the cause of much boasting by the Germans some months ago. Obviously, General Haig is determined to take a full advantage of any signs of such a retreat, providing that the weather conditions remain such as to permit of steady and continuous pressure, and you can get your supply lines up. A notable paragraph in the British report is the statement that Portuguese troops, repulsed several raids. It is not known how strong the Portuguese contingent with the West Front armies is, but it is an indication that Portugal is no safety-first ally. The French report a fierce attack near Hurtebis in the Champagne, in which the Germans took some portions of their trenches, most of which were recovered by Petain's men. A battle near Ferryman's House again on the Belgian front resulted in the Germans being twice repulsed. Activity here may indicate an attempt of the Germans to create a diversion to help their forces elsewhere. Interesting. I'm wondering if they are trying to, is he alluding to some other ally that's a safety-first ally? I wonder who that would be. Maybe there's not. Maybe he's just making a statement. Hold on, let me sip some coffee. Captain Bathurst, Parliamentary Secretary of the British Food Control Department, warned the people of Britain in the course of a speech that there has been no diminution in the activity of the German U-boats. The June losses, he says, may exceed those of May, as the Germans are apparently concentrated their attention upon the larger ships. In the last 10 days, he says, 40,000 tons of sugar have been sent to the bottom. He urges that production must be increased and that there must be proper conservation of foodstuffs. It is fortunate indeed, you're darn right, that the United States is beginning to be able to place a number of ships at the disposal of the Allies. And we found some even Germans, former German ships that were impounded. These no doubt will be used largely for the convoying of food, and not interesting to use that word, isn't it? And will, with the assistance of the American mosquito fleets, be much better protected in voyages to and from the Allied ports than has been the case previously, owing to the immense amount of patrol duties devolving upon the Allied fleets. Italian troops have landed at Port Said, according to a statement from Washington. Holy Moses, look where the hell they are now, to assist the Allied armies operating in Palestine. This action, it is said, follows recent conferences of the British, Italian, and French premiers and is Italy's return for the aid given her on the Austrian front. Mind you, they already have some presence near, below, oh, darn it, the thing that half the Ottomans and half the Greeks keep fighting over all the time. I keep forgetting the name of it. Cyprus. So far as the official records show, only British forces have heretofore operated against the Turks in Palestine, and with excellent results. No word of fighting or advances has been recorded for some time, but the British operations in and from Egypt have never been advertised until some objective has been obtained. Light railways have solved many of the problems of desert transportation for men and materials, and presumably these are now keeping the British in Palestine well supplied. A Turkish report published some time ago was to the effect that a decision not to defend Jerusalem had been revoked in favor of a plan to hold it to the last, which was verified, I think, last week or the week before by William Arends' ATAs. The strength of the Italian force landed is not mentioned, but it is said that it consists of Bersaglieri and Carabiners, noted corps, which in the past have had much experience in fighting the Turks in Tripoli. British naval units are cooperating effectively in the campaign, and French units may be assisting. When the Allies are ready for the next move from their positions near Gaza, the probabilities are that they will strike a decisive blow at the Turks in Palestine. Britain is also to make reprisals for, I love this because it goes in keeping with Charles Latora asking a zillion questions about the British. Why didn't the British have countermeasures against the air raids? Remember, there's two biggies, one per week, and where were the Germans flying from, and so on and so forth. And part of this, we start talking about the reprisals, because the Germans are doing civilian targets. Did the British and French do civilian targets? We asked that last week. But anyways, Britain is to make reprisals for the German air raid, which resulted in the killing of so many children and women a few days ago. Mr. Bonar-Law made a statement to the effect in the Commons, adding that the government intended to take steps not only for damaging the enemy, but for preventing raids on Britain. He's the Conservative leader, I do believe. Raids on German towns and cities at considerable distance from the Allied lines are becoming more practicable every day with the increasing strength of the Allied air forces and the increasing efficiency of the airplanes. In recent battles on the Western Front, the Germans have resorted to using big squadrons of airplanes because they are no longer a match individually for British aviators. We're going to talk about that in a second. The British have met the challenge, and pitched battles are now taking place between large squadrons. In nearly every instance, these fights are well over the German lines, as the foe will not go far from his own bailiwick to seek the enemy. After one of the latest of these combats, British airmen coolly flew over the battle area at a low altitude and counted 10 smashed German planes lying on the ground. Supremacy in the air is becoming more and more vital to the winning of the war, and a decision of the United States to spend millions of money in training and up to 30,000 aviators means much for the Allies. You're darn right it does. But remember, we mentioned this a few weeks ago, that the German tactics or strategy on the Western Front with their airplanes is that the main strategy is they wait for the British to go over their lines, find reconnaissance, like count the amount of planes, and then just send more up than there are British planes. So that's what they're doing, essentially. They're using the resources. They don't have as much resources to go over British lines as much as in the other way around. Anyways, there we go. On the West Front, no major actions are recorded. French troops in the Champagne district, by a surprise attack, carried some 300 yards of a trench system that had formed a salient in their line, capturing a few prisoners. A German report from this sector speaks of increased artillery fire over a widening area, makes no mention of the French claim of success. Both sides seem to be sparring for an opening here, and news of a big battle would not be surprising. The British report records the retirement of advanced posts east of Monchy-le-Preux, a few miles below the Scarpe River, taken by the British on June 14th. These positions were in the nature of posts established in front of the new main line of the British on the date mentioned. The loss of the positions need not be taken seriously. It bears out, however, the repeated statements of the war critics that the Germans would continue to make desperate counterattacks in their attempts to hold back the British advance. Slight gain was made by the British in the Messines sector in the direction of Warneton. The German U-boat told the British merchant ships up to yesterday is 322 vessels of more than 1,600 tons and 135 of less than 1,600 tons, with 78 fishing vessels, according to an Associated Press statement from New York, based on British official reports, allowing an average of 5,000 tons per 4 vessels of more than 1,600 tons destroyed, and computing the average of the smaller ships at 1,000 tons. The table figures out that the Allies' total loss in slightly less than 4 months would average an aggregate of 1,745,000 tons. This is very heavy, of course, but it is considerably below the 1 million tons a month, which the Germans figured was necessary to be destroyed in order to bring Britain to her knees. The announcement that a Japanese vessel had sunk a U-boat in the Mediterranean is another proof of the increasing liveliness in dealing with this peril, and certainly not a safety-first ally. On the Carso, the Italians have recaptured some of the ground lost by the great Austrian counterattacks near the coastline and hold it firmly with a view to resuming the smash towards Trieste when the proper time arrives. Cadorna's men have also repulsed heavy attacks in the Trentino sector. Hold your horses. All right, here we go, and more stuff about the subs and food. The submarine is still a serious menace to Britain's food. According to the weekly summary given out last night, 27 ships of over 1,600 tons and 5 ships under 1,600 tons were sent to the bottom within the past 7 days. These figures show a heavier toll exacted by the German plungers than in any of the 6 preceding weeks. The greatest destruction to shipping since the middle of April was during the week ending of April 28th, when 38 ships of over 1,600 tons and 13 of less than 1,600 tons were torpedoed. Admiralty officials point out, in seeking some cause for hope in the present situation, that an increasing number of vessels are successfully resisting attack. On the other hand, the increasing number of vessels of large tonnage being sunk constitutes considerable cause for alarm. Again, the Admiralty officials announced that the weapons being used to combat the submarines have constantly grown in efficiency. And it is intimated that, though British cargo carriers are being sent to the bottom with painful regularity, too much pessimism is not reasonable. Critics of the Admiralty point out that there is too much passive resistance in the anti-submarine policy, and that instead of spasmodic raids both by sea and by land on submarine bases on the Belgian coast, there should be pursued a more vigorous and constant assault upon the lairs of the sea wolves. I didn't know if they were called that yet. They contend that these can be more surely destroyed in the shallow waters of the Belgian coast than in the open seas. A Paris dispatch states that a special submarine department, I'd love to find out if there really was one, has been created at the French Ministry of Marine by President Poincaré. A nest of German trenches at the foot of Reservoir Hill was captured by the Canadians in a smart engagement yesterday. The Germans made 3 separate attempts to recapture the lost ground, but all these were futile. 35 prisoners were taken, the dugouts were blown up, and the new positions have been incorporated in the British lines. This latest success of the Canadians removes another obstacle from the four lines. British troops farther south have retaken the posts east of Monchy-le-Preux, from which advanced detachments were forced to retire when the enemy attacked Infantry Hill on Monday. 3 heavy Teuton counterattacks against the British positions immediately north of the Souchez River were completely repulsed. Slight gains were made by the British, too, south of the Cojeul River and north of the Souchez River. Is it Cojeul River? It'll be interesting to know. Brian R. Smith, where are you if you're still around? For German field guns were taken east of Messines last Thursday, or I can go look it up myself. General Haig, in a review of operations in northern France. I wonder if I could do it now. Let's do it, because I can pause and you guys won't. It's not, you get it. Well, the lady says it's Cojeul or something like that. So there we go. General Haig, in a review of operations in northern France from December 18th to the present offensive, makes clear 2 or 3 notable facts. One of these is that the campaign following the Somme battle and begun against the villages of Pisse and Grandcourt on November 18th has been uninterrupted by any German enterprise. The British commander-in-chief shows that he had a clearly defined plan last summer and that he has been executing it ever since with astonishing success against the heaviest resistance that Hindenburg could offer. He lays stress upon the difficulties of transportation and gives his readers a hint of what tremendous achievements have been won by the engineers from Britain and Canada, which I want to do a little telegram from time from. I've got it off to the side. Maintenance of communications was one of the most serious impediments to progress this spring, and he himself expresses wonder at the manner in which his men were able to keep in contact with an ingenious retreating foe. General Haig makes this remark: the prospect of a more general resumption of open fighting can be regarded with great confidence. The Italians have resumed their offensive on the Trentino front and have captured Austrian positions on Monte Altigara together with nearly 1,000 prisoners. The chief objective of the drive is the city of Trent, which was once almost within their grasp. Dispatches from time to time state that the Italians have greatly increased their striking power in this area and there can be little doubt that under fairly favorable conditions, this northern goal will soon be attained. I wonder if I should call it that instead. Dispatches from time to time instead of telegram from time. Because I really do it from time to time. Interesting. Hindenburg continues his efforts to dislodge the French from the commanding positions in the Champagne. Yesterday, the Germans launched an attack on a front of nearly a mile between the Ayat River and Moulin de la Faux. The French report states that the assault was very violent and was carried out with large effectives. No material success was gained by the foe. Operations in German East Africa have been resumed by the British. Aided by warships, a surprise landing was effected near Mureka in the estuary, and the Germans were driven towards the southwest. The British struck from the port of Lindy. The lull before the storm, hold on. Here's the ladder. General Haig's troops, keeping in close and continual contact with Hindenburg's advanced position and exploring it in occasional raids, are in complete readiness for another extensive German withdrawal, which is considered to be highly probable in the region between Arras and Ypres, or for what is even more likely, a new British push. Mr. Atkins is still Lord of the Air over northern France, and this fact, repeatedly demonstrated, makes the expectation of another and early blow similar to that struck at Vimy and Messines ridges fully warranted. The German troops in the Messines region stand between the British and the Ypres-de-Command Canal. With their backs to the latter and deprived of any safe observation or artillery positions, a retirement to the other side of the canal seems to be the only feasible solution of a problem that must cause the German High Command considerable concern. Austrian Poles, so long oppressed, have overthrown the government. Dispatches from Vienna through different channels indicate that the cabinet crisis, precipitated by a refusal of the Polish representatives to approve the budget, has culminated in the resignation of all its members. Even the German papers are credited with treating the situation as a serious menace, and it is not at all unlikely that the leavens supplied by the provoked Poles will create a cumulative trouble for the Kaiser's first ally. A Polish deputy declared in the Vienna Reichsrat that over 30,000 Poles have been hanged by order of the German authorities. Following another description of the Teutonic barbarism, a pan-Germanist deputy said that the government had not used the rope enough. This brought a vehement protest from the Slav and Polish members, and the consequent uproar forced the suspension of the House. As the Polish population of Austria is estimated roughly at 5 million, the military as well as the political possibilities of the disruption of Parliament may be serious. In fact, it may spell the end of the apparent harmony in Vienna, which has made effective war operations in the Italian and Russian fronts. Yep, these war summaries are getting shorter. They are getting censored, are really, as far as at least I think so anyways. General Neville, remember him? Still pursues his policy of attrition. Really? I thought he was fired. The French troops, without its Pétains people now, the French troops occupying the positions of great natural advantage in the Champagne region are quite content for the present to allow the nervous Germans to do the attacking. The French War Office reports a heavy attack on Monday night between Mont Blanc and Mont Calnile. The assault broke up under the fire of French guns, which inflicted serious losses on the Germans, who left a number of prisoners in the hands of the French. Tuesday's German report admits that the penetration by the French of positions in the Champagne the day previous. Lord Ronda, in assuming the duties of Britain's food controller, declared yesterday that food power is co-equal with manpower. The problem of Great Britain's food primarily depends upon the supply, and in the main, the solution of the problem of supply lies in America. I'm sure they will not let us down. Only minor operations are reported on the Italian front. General Cadorna admits that the enemy penetrated advanced posts on the southeastern slopes of Mount Rombon. A surprise Austrian attack northeast of Gemignano on the Carso front was repulsed with severe losses. And the final one, a British official statement says that with the advent of the malarial season, the troops east of the Struma River have been slightly withdrawn. It is a precautionary measure that, according to the report, does no injury to their military position. But it doesn't help them either, does it? The ground evacuated is fully under control of the new line. All right, and that's it. And malaria, I guess. Anyways, that's it. Hope you have a hope that went well. Hope you have a great remainder of your weekend and a great week. And that's it. Hope to see you for 1, 2, 3. All right. See you later.